Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Furloughed federal employees out till late November. Oh boy, this is getting very, very long, and I wanted to share this with you. I found this article on Federal News Network, and it came out October 31st, 2025, and I wanted to share it with you here today. Let's see, the Fed, this is the headline, Feds told shutdown furloughs extended to late November. All right, so here we are. Hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every minute watched really does help the channel, and I appreciate your support very, very much. All right, so Feds told shutdown furloughs extended to late November. Agencies are giving furloughed federal employees an inconsistent message about whether they will get retroactive pay once the shutdown ends. Agencies are starting to tell the more than 700,000 federal employees who are furloughed during this now 31-day partial government shutdown that their time away will be extended another 30 days. Now, I just can't help but think, what sort of repercussions are we going to see? What sort of collateral damage will we see specifically at the VA, right? You have a bunch of people that aren't being paid, what's going to happen, right? Are they going to look for other jobs? Are they going to leave? Where are we at with that? I'd love to get your thoughts. Please put those in the comments. I do appreciate that. So moving on, the Departments of Commerce, Justice, and Homeland Security, as well as NASA and the General Services Administration, at the very least, have sent out emails to employees detailing the extension for the furlough, right? Because your services are no longer needed for orderly supervision of operations and you are not engaged in one of the expected functions, you are being placed in a furlough status effective October 31st, 2025. The Commerce Department wrote in its furlough notice, this furlough, i.e. non-duty, non-pay status, is not expected to exceed 30 days. Therefore, this furlough notice expires on November 29th, 2025, when a continuing resolution or a fiscal 2026 appropriation for the Department of Commerce is enacted. You will be expected to return to duty on your next regular scheduled workday. GSA said its furlough notices go out November 30th. Commerce also said if the lapse in appropriations lasts longer than 30 days, it will give employees another furlough letter. So they're slow rolling out this information because nobody knows. It does not apply to employees who did not previously receive a furlough notice, including expected employees. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency wrote in its email, which Federal News Network obtained, quotation here, employees who have been recalled from furlough status may continue to work in accordance with any previous issued recall notice, but will be placed in furlough status if the recall ends before funding is restored. Retroactive pay still in question. Agencies are required by law to send employees furlough notices at least 30 days before a lapse in appropriations, but given the current situation, that requirement was suspended. Some agencies, such as the CISA and the Army, are requiring employees to sign or at least acknowledge the letter. While the letter among several agencies are similar, there are some differences. NASA Watch, a blog site hosted by a former NASA employee, reported that the space agency's letter raised the question of whether or not furloughed employees would receive retroactive pay once the shutdown ends. A quotation here, please note that if you receive retroactive pay at the conclusion of the shutdown furlough and you received unemployment compensation for the shutdown furlough, you will be required to repay the unemployment compensation funds, the NASA Watch reported. A NASA spokesperson confirmed it sent out the notice and the retroactive pay is not guaranteed without an act of Congress. Other agencies, including the Interior Department and the Census Bureau, also sent similar messages to employees about retroactive pay in the new furlough notices, according to the notice obtained by Federal News Network. At the Office of National Director of Intelligence, employees received more assurance in their latest furlough letter that they would be paid. Other agencies, including Commerce, the Army, and CISA, didn't mention anything about retroactive pay. The Office of Management and Budget raised the question of whether furloughed employees would receive retroactive pay shortly after the partial shutdown started. A draft legal opinion from OMB argued that whatever funding legislation Congress ultimately passes to end the current shutdown must explicitly include appropriations to provide back pay for furloughed federal employees. And if it's not expressly written in the spending legislation, the OMB memo argues that furloughed workers cannot receive any retroactive compensation. Experts say OMB's opinion appears to contradict its previous interpretation of the Government Employee Fair Trade Act, which President Donald Trump signed into law in 2019 during the last government shutdown. Congress failed to pass a bill to pay feds. Senate lawmakers have tried to pass a bill to pay federal employees who currently are working during the shutdown. The Senate didn't pass the bill, as Democrats voted against it because they said it didn't include immediate financial relief for the roughly 700,000 federal employees who are currently furloughed without pay. These second round of notices come as about 1.4 million federal employees missed a full paycheck this week, according to data analysis from the Bipartisan Policy Center. About half of those employees are furloughed and the rest are working without pay. Everett Kelly, the national president of the American Federation of Government Employees, said at a union's town hall last night his recent call to end the shutdown wasn't a partisan or political message. A quotation here: "What you saw was a call for dignity, a call for fairness and respect for the millions of patriotic federal employees who simply want to serve their country and get a paycheck for their work. Now, that's not a new position, and it shouldn't be a controversial issue. AFGE has opposed every shutdown in our union's history," Kelly said. "We have never and will never support politicians using our livelihoods as political football. Now, I know there isn't a universal agreement on that position, and I hear that too. We all want to see a government that truly serves working people. We all want to see an end to the chaos that we've seen rave or so many ravage of our lives this year." Kelly said senators from both parties began meeting to introduce legislation to guarantee that every federal employee furloughed and who are working will be paid immediately for the full length of this shutdown and in any future shutdown. Moving on here, quotation, and this ends it. "We see leaders from both parties coming together to try to take federal employees out of this dangerous game, not just for this time frame, but forever. And I applaud them for that," he said. "No federal worker should ever be treated as expendable or used as leverage in a political fight. Yet once again, we find ourselves in the crosshairs after months of reductions in force, agency closings, attacks on our most fundamental rights as a union, and on our basic dignity as workers. We are now carrying the fight of a political fight in Washington that has left hundreds of thousands of us without pay, without certainty, and for too many without a way to put food on the table, make the car note, or keep a roof over our heads." With that concludes it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.